I don't deserve what you have done to me. I will never forgive you.
The rain poured down on Lagos like angry tears from heaven as Aduni packed her small belongings into a cardboard box. Her hands shook as she wiped away the tears streaming down her face. Just 30 minutes ago, she was the trusted secretary to Nigeria's youngest billionaire, CEO Chike Okafor. Now she was jobless and 3 months pregnant with his child. The security guard watched her sadly as she walked through the glass doors of Okafor Industries for the last time. "Madam, why are you crying?" little Emeka, the shoe-shine boy, asked her outside the building. Aduni knelt down and hugged the boy who had become like a son to her over the past 2 years. "Sometimes life is hard, my dear, but God never abandons us," she whispered. What she didn't know was that Chike was watching from his office window 30 floors above his heart breaking as he saw the woman he secretly loved walking away forever. Chike had built his empire from nothing after his father abandoned their family when he was just 12 years old. His mother sold pure water on the streets of Mushin to feed him and his 3 sisters. The pain of abandonment had turned his heart to stone, and he trusted no one, especially not with love. When his business partner tried to steal his company secrets through a fake romance 6 months ago, Chike decided he would never mix business with personal feelings again. That was why he fired Aduni when his mother told him she saw them together at the market looking like a couple. "That girl will destroy everything you worked for, my son," his mother had warned him. But what his mother didn't know was that Aduni was different from all the gold-digging women who chased him for his money. She was the daughter of a poor fisherman from Badagry who worked 3 jobs to support her sick mother and younger siblings. Her kindness was pure and her love for him was real. 3 months passed like a slow-moving nightmare for both of them. Aduni worked as a cleaner in a small office building, barely making enough money to buy food. Her pregnancy was becoming harder to hide, and she felt sick every morning. She had moved back to her family's 1-room apartment in Makoko, where the smell of the lagoon mixed with the sounds of crying babies and arguing neighbors. "My daughter, why won't you tell us who the father is?" her mother asked weakly from her sick bed. "He is an important man, Mama, but he doesn't want us," Aduni replied as she counted the few Naira notes she earned that day. Meanwhile, Chike couldn't focus on anything. His billion Naira deals felt meaningless without Aduni's cheerful voice greeting him each morning. His new secretary, Miss Johnson, was efficient but cold. She didn't remember that he liked his tea with honey, not sugar, and she never asked about his mother's health like Aduni used to do. Everything changed on a rainy Thursday evening when Chike's driver got sick and he had to drive himself home. His Range Rover broke down in the middle of Makoko, the same slum where Aduni lived. As he waited for help in the rain, he heard a familiar voice singing a Yoruba lullaby. He followed the sound and found Aduni sitting under a small zinc roof holding her growing belly and singing to her unborn baby. She looked thin and tired, but still beautiful. "Aduni," he called out, and she looked up in shock. "Oga Chike, what are you doing here?" she asked, standing up quickly. For the first time in months they stood face to face, and Chike saw something that made his heart stop. Her belly was round and he knew immediately that the baby was his. "When were you going to tell me?" he asked quietly. "Tell you what, sir?" she replied, looking down at her feet. "That you are carrying my child," he said, and Aduni began to cry. "I was going to tell you the day you fired me," Aduni sobbed. "I went to your office that morning with the test results, but you wouldn't even look at me. You said I was a distraction and that I should never come back. I thought you hated me." Chike felt like someone had punched him in the stomach. All this time he thought he was protecting his business, but he was actually destroying the best thing that ever happened to him. "I don't hate you, Aduni. I was afraid," he admitted. "Afraid of what, Oga?" she asked, wiping her tears. "Afraid that if I loved you, someone would use that love to hurt me, like they hurt my mother when my father left us. Afraid that you would leave me when you realized I was not the strong man everyone thinks I am." The rain continued to fall around them as 2 broken hearts finally began to heal. The next morning, Chaik called an emergency meeting with his board of directors. "I have an announcement to make," he told the 12 powerful men and women who ran his company. "I am going to marry my former secretary, Miss Aduni Bakery, and she is pregnant with my child." The room erupted in shocked whispers and concerned looks. Mr. Ogundimu, the oldest board member, stood up. "Chaik, this is a mistake that will destroy your reputation and our company stock." But Chaik had made up his mind. "If any of you cannot accept my wife and child, then you can resign today. Love is not a weakness, it is the greatest strength a man can have." That afternoon he drove back to Makoko with a diamond ring his grandmother had given him years ago. He found Aduni feeding her neighbor's children because their mother was sick. "Will you marry me?" he asked, getting down on one knee in the muddy street. "Even though I am poor and from the slum?" she asked in disbelief. "Especially because you are kind and good and everything I am not," he replied. Their wedding was the most talked about event in Lagos that year. Chaik ignored all the society people who said he was marrying beneath his status and invited everyone from Makoko, including little Emeka, the shoe-shine boy who became his ring-bearer. Aduni's father, who had never owned a suit, wore the best Agbada money could buy, and walked his daughter down the aisle, with tears of joy streaming down his face. "Today, I am not just marrying a woman, I am marrying into a family that knows how to love," Chaik told the crowd of over 500 guests. But not everyone was happy about the union. Chaik's mother stood up during the ceremony and announced that she would never accept a wife from the slums. "You are making the biggest mistake of your life," she declared before storming out. Aduni's heart broke, but Chaik held her hand tight. "She will come around," he whispered. "And if she doesn't, then we will build our own family with love." 6 months later, baby Kioma was born during a thunderstorm that reminded everyone of the night her parents found each other again in Makoko. She was the most beautiful baby Lagos had ever seen, with her father's intelligent eyes and her mother's gentle smile. Chaik cried when he held her for the first time. "I promise to be the father to you that I never had," he whispered to his daughter. Aduni watched from her hospital bed as the most powerful man in Nigeria became a gentle father, singing the same Yoruba lullaby she had sung during her pregnancy. 3 days after Kioma was born, Chaik's mother arrived at the hospital with tears in her eyes. "I was wrong, my son," she admitted, holding her granddaughter. "This child and her mother have brought more joy to your eyes than all your money ever could. Please forgive a foolish old woman who was too afraid of losing you to see that you had found your happiness." As Kioma grew older, the Okafor family became known throughout Nigeria, not just for their wealth, but for their kindness. Every Christmas they returned to Makoko to distribute gifts and scholarships to poor children. Chaik built a modern medical clinic in Aduni's village, where her mother finally received the treatment she needed. He also started a foundation that gave jobs to single mothers and street children like Emeka, who was now studying computer science at the University of Lagos on a full scholarship. "Money without purpose is just paper," Chaik would tell anyone who asked about his charity work. But money used to lift others is the greatest investment a man can make. Aduni had transformed from a secretary to a powerful woman who ran the foundation and spoke at conferences around Africa about lifting women out of poverty. On their 5th wedding anniversary, Chaik and Aduni returned to the same spot in Makoko, where they had found each other again. Baby Kioma was now walking and laughing as she chased butterflies near the lagoon. "Do you ever regret leaving your simple life for all these complications?" Chaik asked his wife as they watched their daughter play. "Never," Aduni replied, taking his hand. "God knew exactly what he was doing when he brought us together. You needed to learn that love is not a threat to your success, it is the foundation of true success. And I needed to learn that I was worthy of being loved completely, not just for what I could give, but for who I am." As the sun set over Lagos, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, the family of 3 walked home together. The little girl who used to clean floors was now a queen. The billionaire who thought love was weakness had discovered it was his greatest strength. And somewhere in heaven the ancestors smiled, knowing that 2 broken hearts had found their way to wholeness through the power of forgiveness, faith, and unconditional love. But life had more tests waiting for the Okafor family, and their greatest challenge was about to begin. When Kioma turned 7 years old, she started getting sick with terrible headaches that made her cry at night. At first the doctors said it was just childhood stress, but the headaches got worse and worse. One morning Aduni found her daughter unconscious in her bed and rushed her to Lagos University Teaching Hospital. After many tests and scans, Dr. Adebayo called Chike and Aduni into his office with sad eyes. "Your daughter has a brain tumor," he said quietly. "We need to operate immediately, but even then her chances are only 50%. The world stopped spinning for both parents. Chike, who had conquered every business challenge, felt completely helpless. Aduni, who had faced poverty and rejection with courage, now felt her faith shaking. "How much will the operation cost?" Chike asked, ready to spend every kobo he had. "Money is not the problem, sir," Dr. Adebayo replied. "The problem is that this type of surgery requires a specialist who is only available in London, and your daughter is too weak to travel." That night, as Kioma slept between them in the hospital bed, Chike and Aduni held each other and cried. "I would give up everything, my companies, my houses, my money, if it could save our daughter," Chike whispered. "I know my husband," Aduni replied, stroking Kioma's hair. "But maybe God is testing our faith the same way he tested Job in the Bible." The next morning brought unexpected hope when Dr. Sarah Mitchell, a British neurosurgeon, called the hospital. She had heard about Kioma's case from a colleague and was willing to fly to Lagos to perform the surgery for free. "I lost my own daughter to the same disease 10 years ago," she explained to them through video call. "I couldn't save her, but maybe I can save yours." Chike broke down crying. He had never believed that strangers could be so kind. Dr. Mitchell arrived 3 days later and immediately began preparing for the most important surgery of her career. The night before the operation, the whole Makoko community gathered outside the hospital to pray for little Kioma. Amika, who was now a young man studying engineering, led the prayers in both English and Yoruba. "This child belongs to all of us," he declared. "Let us ask God to guide the doctor's hands." The surgery lasted 12 hours and felt like 12 years to Chike and Aduni. They paced the hospital corridors holding hands and praying while family, friends, and even strangers waited. With them, Chike's mother, who had become like a real mother to Aduni, cooked jollof rice for everyone who was waiting. "Food brings people together even in hard times," she said, serving plates to the poor families who couldn't afford hospital meals. At exactly 6 in the evening, Dr. Mitchell emerged from the operating room with tired but smiling eyes. "The surgery was successful," she announced, and the entire hospital corridor erupted in praise songs and happy tears. "But she will need months of recovery and may have some changes in her personality or abilities." Chike didn't care about any of that. His daughter was alive, and that was all that mattered. When they finally saw Kioma 3 hours later, her head was wrapped in white bandages, but her eyes were open, and she managed a weak smile. "Daddy, Mama, why is everyone crying?" she whispered. "Because we love you so much, baby girl," Aduni replied, kissing her forehead gently. The recovery period taught the Okafor family lessons they never expected to learn. Kioma had to learn how to walk again, and sometimes forgot simple words she used to know easily. Some days she would cry because she couldn't remember her favorite song or how to write her name. But slowly, with patience and love, she began to heal. Aduni quit her foundation work temporarily to stay home with Kioma every day. She read her stories, played simple games, and celebrated every small victory like it was Christmas morning. Chike reduced his work hours and spent every evening helping his daughter with physical therapy exercises. The powerful businessman who Used to command boardrooms, now crawled on the floor pretending to be a horse so his daughter could practice walking. "Daddy, you are silly." Kiyoma would giggle, and those moments of laughter became more precious than any business deal he had ever closed. 6 months after the surgery, Kiyoma spoke her first complete sentence since the operation. "I want to help other sick children when I grow up," she declared. Both parents knew their daughter's kind heart had survived the surgery intact. Dr. Mitchell stayed in Lagos for 3 months to monitor Kiyoma's progress, and during that time she became like family to them. She had never married or had other children after losing her daughter Emma. "You have given me a reason to believe in hope again," she told Chike and Aduni one evening. "Watching Kiyoma recover has healed something in my own heart that was broken for 10 years. When it was time for her to return to London, the goodbye was tearful. Kiyoma had made her a drawing of the two of them holding hands with the words, "Thank you for saving my life," written in shaky letters. Dr. Mitchell framed the picture and later said it was the most precious gift she had ever received. "You saved my daughter's life, but she saved your heart," Aduni observed wisely. The experience had shown them all that healing works both ways. When people open their hearts to love. Before leaving, Dr. Mitchell established a partnership with Lagos University Teaching Hospital to train local surgeons in advanced brain surgery techniques. "No other child should have to wait for help to come from another continent," she declared. As Kiyoma's 8th birthday approached, the family decided to celebrate in a special way. Instead of a big party with expensive decorations, they organized a Thanksgiving service at the small church in Makoko, where Aduni had prayed during her darkest days as a single mother. The church was packed with people whose lives the Okafor family had touched over the years. Former street children who were now university students spoke about how Chike's scholarships had changed their destinies. Single mothers shared stories of how Aduni's foundation had given them jobs and dignity. Even some of Chike's business rivals attended, because they respected how he had used his wealth to lift others. "Today we celebrate not just my daughter's birthday, but the birthday of hope in all our lives," Chike addressed the congregation. "When I was a young boy, I thought success meant having more money than everyone else. But real success means having more love to give than you can ever use up." Pastor Adeyemi, who had baptized Kiyoma as a baby, smiled from the pulpit. "This family shows us that God's greatest miracles happen when we choose love over fear and faith over doubt." The celebration continued at the Okafor family compound, where they had built a playground for all the neighborhood children. As Kiyoma blew out 8 candles on her birthday cake, she made a wish that she shared with everyone. "I wish that every sick child in Nigeria can get the help they need to get better like I did." Her innocent words inspired Chike and Aduni to dream even bigger. That night they sat on their balcony overlooking Lagos and planned their next mission. "What if we built the best children's hospital in West Africa right here in Lagos?" Chike suggested. "With free treatment for every child, regardless of their family's ability to pay." Aduni's eyes lit up with excitement. "And what if we trained Nigerian doctors to be the best pediatric surgeons in the world, so our children never have to wait for help from other countries?" By morning they had outlined a plan that would cost $50 million and take 5 years to complete. Some people would call it impossible, but the Okafor family had learned that love makes all things possible. 3 years later, the groundbreaking ceremony for Kiyoma Children's Hospital took place on the same land in Makoko, where Chike had first found Aduni crying in the rain. Kiyoma, who was now 11 years old and completely healthy, helped her parents lay the foundation stone. Dr. Mitchell flew in from London to be the hospital's first director, and dozens of international medical experts volunteered to help train the staff. "This hospital will save thousands of children's lives," she told the crowd of government officials, traditional rulers, and community members who attended the ceremony. "But more than that, it will prove to the world that Africa can solve its own problems when leaders choose to serve rather than just succeed." The hospital would have the most advanced equipment money could buy, but it would also have something more important. Every room would be painted with bright colors and filled with toys. Every patient would be treated like they were the most precious child in the world. And every family would leave knowing that love had made their healing possible. On the 10th anniversary of that rainy night when they found each other again in Makoko, Chike and Aduni returned once more to their special place by the lagoon. Kiyomo was now a teenager volunteering at the children's hospital every weekend and dreaming of becoming a doctor herself. The slum had been transformed into a modern community with clean water, electricity, and good schools funded by the Okafor Foundation. Little Emeka was now Dr. Emeka, running the hospital's engineering department and married to a beautiful nurse named Kemi. Chike's mother had become known as Mama Lagos because she spent her days cooking for poor families and teaching young girls how to sew and start their own businesses. Look how far we have all traveled from where we started. Aduni marveled as they watched the sunset paint the sky in brilliant colors. From a secretary and a broken businessman to parents and healers and hope givers. Chike pulled his wife close as they stood in the exact spot where their love story had been reborn. The journey is not finished yet, my darling. As long as we have breath in our bodies, we will keep spreading love and healing wherever God sends us. As they walked home hand in hand, they passed the bronze statue that had been erected to honor their love story. The inscription read, "Love conquers all when hearts choose courage over fear." Children playing nearby waved at them and called out, "Good evening, Uncle Chike and Auntie Aduni," because everyone in Lagos knew that the richest family in the city was also the kindest. The little girl who once cleaned floors had become a queen who lifted others. The billionaire who thought love was weakness had discovered it was the greatest strength any human could possess. And in the children's laughter echoing across the lagoon they heard the voice of God, saying, "Well done, good and faithful servants, your love has multiplied and blessed more lives than you can count."